guys haven't seen Coraline, it's one of my favorite movies. And I'm going to go through basically the plot. I'll go through some of the strengths I feel like it has, some of the weaknesses I have, some of my favorite scenes, and maybe my favorite character or whatnot. But I'm going to get right into it. So, welcome to my review of Coraline. So the premises of this the premise of this movie is this young girl named Coraline Jones is her and her family move into this old house, and it's divided into sections. So they have multiple tenants. So it's one house, and then her parents live in one. Her and her parents live in one, and there's, I believe, two other tenants that live in this house. There is Mrs. Spink and Mrs. Forcible, who are two elderly women, and there's also Mr. Bobinski and his crazy mice. And you'll know why I talk about them now in the future. So one day it's raining and Coraline is bored out of her gourd, and she's just trying to figure out what to do, and she finds this secret passage behind some old wallpaper in this house that they are now renting, and that's kind of when the story begins. Coraline ends up crawling through this doorway that she unlocked, and it leads her into this alternate reality. Not alternate, it's like a parallel reality to her what she knows as reality. And that might get a little confusing, but I'll explain that too. So once Coraline goes into this, she meets her mother and her father, and she meets Mrs. Spink and Mrs. Forcible, and she meets Mr. Bobinski and the dancing mice. But what you don't know is these are the other personalities or personas of these people. So she calls her the other mother and the other father and the other YB. And the biggest distinction between the two worlds, not only is this mirror world supposed to portray everything that Coraline wants. Essentially, the movie is based on the fact that no one is listening to her. No one is paying attention to her. And there's other little tidbits that I'll go into after I tell you the plot that like really exudes that fact. But this other place or other establishment, everything is perfect and roses, and they go out of their way to show Coraline, to give her basically everything that she wants. But of course they have an ulterior motive, which is the biggest plot point, right? So after Coraline goes back and forth to these places, she realizes it's not exactly what she thought it was, and that's where she has to figure out how to get out of the pickle that she put herself in, because she was being, she was being a kid. She wanted people to listen to her. And yeah, so that's basically the plot of Coraline.
Huh? Something smells good. Mom? What are you doing here in the middle of the night?
You're just in time for supper, dear.
So some of the strengths in this are really the story. This story is based on a book that Neil Gaiman wrote called Coraline. And why I haven't read the book. Neil Gaiman is one of the most imaginative writers, in my opinion. If you have read the Sandman series, he wrote American Gods. He's written a lot of really imaginative, impactful literature and graphic novels and whatnot. And this just goes to show that his imagination is crazy. Now, while the story itself, if you think about it, is not all that original, the way he portrays the story is very original. For example, I will show you a clip here what I'm talking about. But in this other world, or where the other mother and other father are, the biggest difference between them is they have buttons sewn onto their eyes. And there's a reason behind that. And now there's a lot of symbolism that they talk about behind this movie, but I don't get wrapped up in all the symbolism of why there's buttons on their eyes and why there's all this other stuff. I just like that that distinction between them two. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, and like I said, I wasn't going to get wrapped up into that. But just thinking that really kind of makes you think, okay, wow, these other people, it's like there's a reason why that piece of, there's a reason behind every single thing that is done in this movie. And the buttons play a big point in it.
Our garden, Coraline. Daughter in distress. Tickle no more, you dragon snappers.
Well, she says it's time for dinner. Breakfast. Food.
Hop on, kiddo. I want to show you something.
Another strength I would say that this has is the animation. Laika, I cannot pronounce it. Laika Studios does some of the most beautiful animation, or they've been responsible for some of the most beautiful imagination. Me and Franklin from Franklin FM McGinnis just watched Kubo, which was, the animation in it was amazing. The story was amazing. I loved it so much. But they also did Frankenweenie and Paranormal, Coraline, obviously, and they also worked alongside the people who did The Corpse Bride. Now, while I love all of these movies, the one downfall of this is Laika Studios has never sold the rights for them to make memorabilia based on these movies, and Coraline being one of them. And I think maybe that even attests to why there's not a lot of Corpse Bride memorabilia out there, but besides I think the McFarlane figures, but it probably attests to why there's not a ton of things out there. Now, what I do know is I found out while doing, I love the computer, I found out doing some research through Laika Studios that they've actually in conversations with another company to help bring out some of these toy or figure or bring some of these fandoms to life, and I'm hoping they start with Kubo and Coraline, because Coraline would literally, there's like nothing, I have owned nothing of Coraline, and I know that there is this one limited edition Coraline doll that looks like the doll, and I'll show you a clip of that here in a second, of the actual doll. But it's very exciting that one of my favorite things is hopefully going to be brought back to the forefront. The weaknesses. Now, while I don't think there's a ton of weaknesses in this movie, I think one of the biggest one is because I loved this so much. When it gets towards the end of the movie, without giving any spoilers, Coraline has to find her real parents because her real parents go missing. And throughout this endeavor, Coraline, she deduces that the villain in this movie has kidnapped them, and the things that she has to do in order to find her parents, I feel like they're resolved too easily. I feel like this movie is so, like, even the happy parts are like dark and kind of twisty, because like this other world, there's you waiting for the shoe to drop, nothing's that perfect, and it's still shown in this like dark like way, and the music is just fabulous. I feel like the music would be another positive or another strength to this movie. But they could have developed the resolution to this and more. Like I know that building this scene and everything and building up to it, they put so much detail into it. And they put so much artistry into it. I'll show you an example of that.
Who are you?
Don't remember our names, but I remember my true mommy.
Why are you all here?
The bell down.
And I wish they would have done the same thing for resolving all of that. And one of my favorite characters is definitely Coraline. Now, what Coraline is kind of, she's a whiny child. And while, you understand from that perspective, you just moved to a new place, even meeting a new person, she kind of doesn't treat them all that well. So she meets this kid named Wybie, who is also one of my favorite characters, and these two together. Now, Wybie doesn't really play a huge pivotal role in this movie, but his character really shows Coraline's personality. And while Coraline, it shows how she just feels like nobody listens to her, which is why she's even drawn to this other world or parallel world to begin with. So I will show you Coraline and Wybie.
Huh. Surprised she let you move in. My grandma, she owns the Pink Palace. Won't rent to people with kids.
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about it. I'm Wybie. Wybie Lovat.
Wybie?
Short for Wyborn. Not my idea, of course. What'd you get saddled with?
I wasn't saddled with anything. It's Coraline.
Caroline what?
Coraline Jones.
It's not real scientific, but I heard an ordinary name like Caroline can lead people to have ordinary expectations about a person.
Now, with that being said, with Coraline and Wybie being two of my favorite characters, there are some really notable characters in there, including the villain herself. And that is, if you don't want to be spoiled, stop it here. You know the strengths and weaknesses and plots. Please go watch it, but this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler. The villain in this is the other mother. And this movie being as creepy and, it is so creepy. As creepy and engrossing as it is, the transformation from the other mother into her true self, which ends up being the tenant who they're renting from. I believe they're her sister or something like that, her missing sister. Watch this scene and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This makes her literally a very notable character.
They say even the proudest spirit can be broken with love. Of course, chocolate never hurts. Like what? They're cocoa beetles from Zanzibar.
I want to be with my real mom and dad. I want you to let me go.
Is that any way to talk to your mother?
You aren't my mother.
Apologize at once, Coraline.
No.
I'll give you to the count of 3. 1, 2.
One of my favorite scenes, besides the one that you just saw, because that is a really good scene, is when she's with Miss Spink and Miss Forcible in the parallel world, and they're singing and they're dancing and they're doing this fabulous, a bit, if you know who they are, you'll know what I'm talking about. but the transition and the artistry of this actual scene is just beautiful. And when you go into it, you wonder, okay, well, what's different from the real world them to this world them? Because they're nice in both worlds, but then it shows you a transformation, and I just think it's fabulous.
I can't look.
Ready to break a leg, Miriam! Our lives for the theater, April.
Right, so you know the plot, you know the strengths, you know the weaknesses, you know my favorite character, and you know my favorite scenes. So if you're interested in watching Coraline, it was available on Hulu or Netflix at the time. It really is worth the watch. It is like literally one of my favorite types of animation. I wish they would do more. I know it takes a lot. I think it takes like a week to do 1 minute of this style of animation. So you can imagine, even though it's like an hour and a half long, how long that took. And I mean, I think a week is probably minimum. So let me know down below if this is something that you would want to see and if you like this movie review. So what I'm going to try to do, I know this one is going to go up on Tuesday, but I'm going to start doing movie review Mondays. So every Monday you will get a movie review from me. And I'm going to try to do book reviews on Wednesday or graphic novel reviews on Wednesday. And the rest of the stuff is going to be my normal content. It's going to be unboxings and pop reviews and things like that. So that's what I'm hoping to do. Because you guys don't know I love to read and I love to watch movies, and I'm just a geek, and I want to share all of that with you. So I'm Katt Dee, guys. I hope you like this. Like, comment, and subscribe if you did. And remember, if you comment, you will be entered into win my box at the end of the year for the subscriber appreciation, which will be a whole bunch of stuff from all the subscription box that I got throughout the year. So I'm Katt Dee, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye.